Okay, so as you now know by now, because this is day 3 that we've been doing this, so we've been talking about these non-Godzilla monster movies for a bit. So as you now know, Toho kind of gave up on Godzilla for a while, and for the most part of the Showa 30s, tried their hand at a whole bunch of other like non-Godzilla monster movies and other sorts of sci-fi stuff, you know? And it wasn't really until John Beck came around in his black hat, peddling his snake oil, that them there Toho boys stole Beck's straw and spun it into the golden bed that brought Godzilla back from hell. And you may even know that the original story Beck was trying to sell by O'Brien wasn't King Kong versus Godzilla after all, but rather King Kong versus Frankenstein. And that story, of course, King Kong and the Frankenstein got into a fight. 2 mons entered, but nobody left because one of them had to die. But Frankenstein was nearly 150 years old at that point, and while Toho had to make a deal with RKO to do anything with Kong, Frankenstein was known about this time as a people's monster, and corporations are people, as we all know, and so it was then that them there Toho boys went into the lab to try and create their very own monster. That beast was called Frankenstein versus the Human Vapor, and nothing much came of that, and that would have been the end of the story if it weren't for one man. Saperstein. His name was Saperstein. That's right, gather round, sushi sloppers. 'Tis time to tell the tale of Saperstein's monster. Well, the year was 1964 when it all went down. A mysterious stranger with a white hat came to town. He said, I like them there movies what you Toho boys done made. I reckon we can make a deal, 'cause that's the Saperstein way, Saperstein. Now Saperstein offered them Toho boys a 3-picture deal. He said he'd supply half the funding, and he'd do it for real. All that he asked in return was just but 2 simple things. A Hollywood actor for the lead role, and also if you could get the giant octopus from King Kong vs. Godzilla to be in the movie too, that would be rightly appreciated, said Saperstein. So Saperstein rounded up a couple of English writers, right? And they got to work on building up old Saperstein's monster. The choice was clear and the path was near, and they knew the plan was right. So Godzilla and the Frankenstein would get into a fight. Now it was around this time that old Saperstein had done picked his leading man. A man of legend y'all no doubt have heard of crossed this beautiful land. Nick Adams came on into town to take names and befriend everyone. But listen up now, y'all, 'cause here's the part where the real story's begun. Godzilla vs. Frankenstein was a really shitty draft. Godzilla had no agency and the story was totally daft. But instead of finding a better way to integrate the leads, they cut him out, and in his place was a goofy little dweeb, that's Ragone. Oops. Now it's about this time that old Saperstein, he went all over town, telling everyone who'd listen of how it all go down. He said, this monster of mine, this Frankenstein, is gonna tussle with a squid. Called it Frankenstein versus the giant devilfish, he did. But when came time for Saperstein to face the final cut, the devilfish just didn't fit and it too was cut. The scene made just for Saperstein was used in neither version, except for some alternate TV edits shown in Japan in the 1970s, and some bonus versions on DVD and that sort of thing. Oh, Saperstein. But with the first film wrapped, there was only one thing left to do. The first of Saperstein's 3 wishes 3. Can I do that one for this is the one I practice the least. Sorry. But now with the first film wrapped, there was just one thing left to do. The first of Saperstein's wishes 3 was only just now through. It's a contract mentioned in its fine print, and now this is the real killer. That part of the deal was one of the 3, it just had to have Godzilla. So Saperstein grabbed his gun and rode on into town. All who dare to oppose him, they will be strucken down. Saperstein and Frankenstein, a pair made in Valhalla. 2 Frankensteins, 2 Nick Adams joints, and one of them has Godzilla. So gather round and raise a glass to the greatest of them all. Do-si-do, and again real slow, and we're gonna have a ball. 'Cause when it's time for Frankenstein to get into a fight, the man who plans and books that fight, his name was Saperstein. Don't forget to tip your waitress now, you hear?